And good morning, all my super friends. Yes, I stuffed up then. I forgot. Excuse me. I forgot to launch the preview window in OBS, which meant that you just saw the desktop on my external laptop that does. Anyway, the stuff was happening. I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far today. Now, before I get into saying hello to everybody, I just wanted to do a very quick shout out to Kulbadi, which is an Indigenous business in Western Australia that does office supplies and all sorts of office related things. So if you happen to be in WA and you are in need of this sort of thing, then please consider supporting local and particularly Aboriginal owned businesses. It's one of the little things that we can do. So, where are we? Good morning, everybody. Henrik. Hello, Henrik. Dodgy family, Michael. And Celtic Beast is here. We've got two Henriks. We've got Henrik Linda and Henrik Ostrov. Oh, Jezza Kemp, where's my pizza? You've got to arrange your own pizza, unfortunately. You're not that far away from me, but yeah. You could always come along. You should come along on a live stream sometime. That'd be really cool. Sharky, The Lane, David, Don S is here, Stuart, TNTX Watcher, Simon, Stephen, who else was further back up? Gerald, Luminator, Sion, Moo, can't forget that Moo. Some call it fun is here. Yeah, Mr. Fix-It. Boss? Don't call me boss. I'm nobody's boss. Not at the moment. I've been plenty of people's bosses in the past. I don't like it. That was one of the in the nose here. Hi from the UK, 11 p.m. Thanks for coming along. Hopefully you'll stay awake for a little while. That was one of the not so fun things about businesses that I've had in the past, is being a boss. I'm not a naturally bossy person. I prefer to work with people rather than deal with all of the administrivia sort of stuff. Anyway, Javier is here. Roger 10-4. Roger 10-4. Being a boss is a good and a bad thing. Yeah. Okay, now, a few things. I want to have some fun with the reflow oven today. There are a bunch of things that I could cover on a stream. I was thinking of doing a bit more of the Wi-Fi access point, but then I thought it would be really interesting to try profiling the reflow oven. We will get to that. First, a couple of things. Two kind of timely things. One that is totally off topic, but if I say endure and survive, who here knows what that's all about? I'm sure there will be a few. To the edge of the universe and back, endure and survive. How cool is The Last of Us HBO adaptation? I'm loving it. I'm like a super fan of the game, and I actually really like the fact that they've deviated from the game in doing the HBO show, because it's giving me a little bit of that feeling of Steve's just balancing here, just barely. It's that feeling of playing it for the very first time, but it's like I'm having that experience again watching the HBO show. Austin, you made it along. You're not late. Only been going a couple of minutes, and you know what it's like. First few minutes don't really count that much. Yeah, anyway. I am really enjoying The Last of Us, the HBO version. Yes. Now, is half... What's this? Henrik was saying, what do you think of that I needed to solder like 600 4mm bananas onto a PCB? 80 is done, 120 is half ready, and the others not arrived. Maybe a little bit crazy. Soldering 600 4mm banana, I assume that you mean banana connectors, which means they've got big thermal mass, and it'll. I hope you've got yourself a decent soldering iron that has good thermal regulation and preferably a lot of thermal mass around the tip. All right. Oh, Russell, you're late, but you made it. You haven't missed anything. So, endure and survive. But the other thing is this. A very, very sad announcement that came out last night. Not entirely unexpected. I was holding on hope, but there is some bad news for fans of the Mycroft project. Mr. Fixit said, anyone following the ChatGPT 4 topic? And Austin asked, did the company respond to your email about the oven? Yeah, let's get to those. I will get to the oven soon, Austin, and I will I'll update you on that. I will get past these things first. So Mycroft, the brief background is that Mycroft is a project that began as a Kickstarter, and in fact it's been through a couple of Kickstarter iterations. This was the first Kickstarter from whenever it was. Does it have a date on it? Oh, Mycroft.ai? No. If I go to here and go back, I'll probably... Here it is. So this... No, that's Mycroft Mark II. Going back in time. Come on. Back to Mycroft Mark I. No, I can't get back to it. Anyway. Yeah, I'm going to find it. Because... Mycroft Kickstarter. I want to find the original Mycroft on Kickstarter to see when all of this began. Yeah, maybe I had it open. It was that one in the first place. Okay, so this is... when did it begin? When was it created? 20, well, estimated delivery, it said, was June 2016. I think it started in 2015. Alright, so the background to all of this is that voice assistants at the time were just really starting to enter the mainstream around 2015. So there were things like the She Who Shall Not Be Named, because I would wake it up if I said its name. And then Google jumped in with theirs, and I can't remember the exact order of it. But there was a whole lot of discussion. People became increasingly aware of the lack of privacy around voice assistants, and the idea of having a microphone in the room with you that is listening all the time and is connected to the internet and is sending what you say off to Amazon or whoever the provider is of the voice assistant. Now, I should just clarify that there is some gating in all of that. If you have a voice assistant, it is not listening, well, it shouldn't be, if they are ethical and particularly if they are smart about it. It shouldn't be streaming audio continuously from the room that it's in off to some third-party service, or I shouldn't even say third party, because it is the company that provides the voice assistant, like Amazon, for processing. What they should be doing is using a wake word detector, which runs locally. Otherwise, it's going to be chewing up bandwidth. It's a huge privacy concern. The idea is that the hardware and the software within the local device that sits in the room with you is tuned to listen to a certain wake word. And when you say that word, sorry, my ADHD brain just got totally derailed by seeing a notification pop up. I am going to silence my phone before this goes really, really badly. So, in fact, it's interrupted my train of thought so badly already. What the hell was I talking about? Wake word detection. The idea is that the device will be sitting there in a state where it is not listening continuously to the audio. It is listening for the wake word, and that's at a very low level within the device. And so when the wake word is detected, it then starts taking the audio from that point on and streaming it to an external server like on AWS, and then doing processing of the speech in order to extract the query or the instruction or whatever it is. And so in theory, what happens is that you should have a reasonable degree of privacy. It should be only the instructions or the things that you are saying directly to your voice assistant that are sent off to the cloud for processing. But there are all sorts of interesting situations where that is not always the case. I'm sure that you have had the experience. If you have a voice assistant, you have had the experience many, many times of just having a regular conversation or even playing a YouTube video or something, and all of a sudden your voice assistant wakes up because that wake word detection has been triggered, and it's decided, hey, I am going to start listening to whatever comes next and processing it and trying to extract some meaning from it so that it can then act on whatever it is that you're asking it to do. And the thing is that can happen at any time. It could happen when there's a TV show on, or while you're having a conversation. It might be a private conversation. The other thing is that it's not necessarily always just one person having a conversation in a room at a time. It could be, okay, so my friend Kathy actually worked at Mycroft for a while, and she had some recordings. So what happens is that I won't go into the whole background of how all of this came about. It doesn't really matter. The point of it is, as part of the way the training was done for the voice assistant, she had access to recordings of audio snippets that were captured by the device in people's homes. And when you start sitting down and listening to the recordings, and all of this was done with consent, so this was part of the training process, when you sit down and listen to the recordings that are captured by voice assistants, it can be shocking how much is actually captured. There were some really great examples that she had in her recordings. For example, you might have a couple of people who are having a loud conversation in, nearby, might be just through a doorway or something in another room, and one person is in the room, and then they activate their voice assistant because they want to ask it a question like what the weather is going to be or whatever, and it captures their voice, but of course it captures all of the ambient sound as well, so it captures the conversation that's going on in the other room. And there were examples of rude conversations, personal conversations, all sorts of things that get disclosed. And also it captures a period of time. Now this depends on the specific voice assistant. Some of them have an internal rolling audio buffer so that what they can do is backtrack, and that might be 3 seconds or 5 seconds or something. So when you say the wake word, it's not just from that moment forward that's captured. It can be a couple of seconds before as well. So it takes that buffer, that rolling buffer that has been continuously filled, and adds a couple of seconds beforehand, and it can never be sure when you've finished speaking. It's listening for a pause or something. So then there is a few seconds after it as well. So you end up with maybe a few seconds of utterance of the command that you're sending to the voice assistant, plus a few seconds before, a few seconds after. You can end up with a big chunk of audio being uploaded to some third-party service and then analyzed and processed. So the result of all of this is that there are really big privacy concerns around voice assistants, and that is really what kicked off the Mycroft project. So back to here. Mycroft, the concept was to build a voice assistant that was built on open technology and that could be done in a trustworthy way. Now the goal was to, I may be misrepresenting this, but I think the original goal was to do full local processing, and then it was fairly quickly discovered that that was not practical, certainly not with the processing power available at the time. And so then it was implemented as in the traditional way that I've just described, with a local wake word detector, and then streaming to a service that would do the analysis of the audio to extract text. So you need to do a speech to text extraction, and then the text needs to be analyzed for for questions. I mean, just processing. Excuse me. Hang on. I've got to put Steve down because I've got to mute myself. Okay, I think that's better. Just processing text is not a trivial project. So, and there are so many ways to screw that up. So you've got the problem of capturing the audio in the room and then filtering it, cleaning it up a little bit to try to make the audio as easy to understand as possible. You need to allow for very different levels of volume and different types of voices and accents and all sorts of things. So there are so many problems associated with speech to text, and then what you get out of that is going to be a chunk of text that has to be analyzed to extract whatever action it is. And so the way Mycroft was set up, basically it was, the original version was based on a Raspberry Pi, and in fact I have one. This is one of those projects that I was going to do a video about, and I was kind of holding on to this because the Mycroft 2, so what I have here is a brand new in-box, unopened Mycroft, the original one from the first Kickstarter, and I'm going to chuck that under the overhead camera. Let's open this up. I have never actually unboxed this thing. This is a, oh, cool. Yeah, this is a like a genuine first time live unboxing. I should dedicate more time to this. I'm not going to pull all of this out and do much with it now because I really would like to do this properly. But this is the original Mark I Mycroft voice assistant. Don't know what the button is for. Oh, I think that might have been for, because they were experimenting with bypassing the wake word and making it so that you press the button to make it listen. Once again, as a privacy thing. There's a speaker in the bottom, and if we look on the back, you can see there's a Raspberry Pi inside this, which means this is probably worth about $1 million now. It's got the I/O brought out to it, so my guess is that internally there'll be a board of some kind that bridges the I/O header out to the back. So it's a voice assistant with a bunch of GPIO pins, which could be cool. And we've got power in, there's HDMI, and then we've got these RCA connectors that'll be audio and video, I believe. It's probably like an original Raspberry Pi in here, one of the very early ones, which had composite video out. So I think it was composite video. I might be saying the wrong thing. Oh, look, there's the SD card under there. Oh, it's just a holder. The SD card's probably already inside it. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that too much because I do want to, hang on, I'll put it in backwards. I do want to connect this and see what I can do with it. But the point of what I was getting to today is James Derrick said knob is for volume, select function, etc. with a LED matrix. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, James. So the point today is very sad news that Mycroft is, well, I was going to say it's no more, but that's not correct. It's okay, before I get to that, I will back up just a little bit more and talk about a couple of the other cool things that Mycroft have done, which is the problem I was just describing with having the processing power in the voice assistant versus out on some cloud platform somewhere means that you need infrastructure outside of your device to be able to do all of this sort of thing. And one of the really cool things that Mycroft did, I think maybe 2 years ago, give or take, was they took their cloud infrastructure and at least mostly open sourced it. And the idea was that you could use their cloud infrastructure, or if you wanted to, you could run up your own infrastructure and then have your own voice assistants going to that. And that way you are 100% in control of all of the audio and the processing and everything that happens, and nothing needs to leave your network. And I thought that was a really neat way of solving the problem. It's that model where for people who just want something that's going to work, they can use the existing cloud service. But for people who might be either a little bit more worried about the privacy aspects of it, or want to experiment with it, or are running an installation with a lot of voice assistants and they want everything local, you could run it on your own infrastructure, put it on a machine sitting in a corner somewhere or whatever. Anyway, it's yeah. Yes, James has just pointed out, suggestion is a patent troll has bled their cash out plus increased production costs. Okay, so what has ended up happening was the Mycroft Mark II was the plan for the totally redesigned, much more integrated device. The original Mycroft was a Raspberry Pi plus a couple of things plugged into it in a custom enclosure, and a whole lot of the plan was that for Mycroft Mark II it would have a big screen on it so it could do much more interactive stuff. And where are we? Mycroft Mark II. Okay, so it went through a number of prototyping stages. Now the most recent update, the one that came out yesterday, is 2 days ago. It's dated February 10th. Oh, it was yesterday our time, because we are living in the future as far as the OS is concerned. So it's if I go back to the update before that, this was December 2022. So 52 Mark IIs have been released to backers so far, and at that point I was feeling like, it's almost going to ship. I'm going to have the Mark II fairly soon. You can see a picture of the Mark II there. And so it felt like we were getting really, really close. And some backers have actually received their Mark IIs. The Mark II is a real device. It's not vaporware. They've built it. But the problem is that the project has faced some really big challenges. Like right through this period, obviously they were hit by the whole supply chain issue with COVID and the global chipocalypse. And then they also, if you look at this, so this update came out, as I said yesterday, it says, we will not be able to fulfill any remaining Mark II rewards. Now, I hesitated about saying this is the end of the project, because as far as I can tell, this is not actually the end of Mycroft. I think that what is going to happen, so my understanding based on the wording of this email, is that the company still exists. It now consists of, I believe, 5 people or 4 people. It's 1 customer service person, 1 lawyer, 2 engineers, and Chris, Michael Lewis, who is now running it. I think that's about the limit of it, which is way down on, they had more people and that sort of thing. So here they've got this explanation, and this is where the patent troll stuff is mentioned as well. So when we first spec'd out this revised Mark II design, the cost of the components alone was about $99. Supply chain disruptions push it up by about 50%, add import and manufacturing costs. So out-of-pocket costs to ship a unit was about $300. not including amortization of $100,000 of injection molds. And so what they have done, oh, and also they got FCC and CE accreditation, all of those things. And here we have the comment: our ongoing litigation against the non-practicing patent entity that has never stopped trying to destroy us. If we had that $1 million, we would be in a very different state right now. So my reading of this is that a patent troll has been going after Mycroft, and Mycroft has had to fight a defensive battle against them, which has so far cost them $1 million. And that is a lot of money to disappear if you're a small business trying to fulfill backers' pledges and ship hardware. Now, this is the thing where it's a little bit curly and where there has been some backlash over the last 24 hours from backers. You can still go to the Mycroft site. Let's see, I'm just going to go to Mycroft. Mycroft. Here we go. You can go to the Mycroft AI site and order one. Here we go. $499. Shipping batch, March 2023. January 2023. Oh, you can't select. Oh yes, I'd like mine shipped in September 2022, please. And add it to the cart, and you can order this. Now the thing is that what they have done, as far as I can tell, is they have decided that they are going to keep taking retail orders at retail price, so that's $500, which I assume is US, and they will keep shipping them to those retail customers, but they will not ship to backers on the Kickstarter. So the Kickstarter backers who have put their money in and were hoping to get this as a reward will not get one, but then people who come along later and buy at retail can just buy one. And that has understandably got people quite upset. So, yes, from a business point of view, I understand the position that Mycroft is in and why they've made that decision, because what this allows them to do, the thing is that the price that they put on for the backers didn't cover their costs, and what those funds allowed them to do was develop the product, but it wasn't enough to produce the product and then supply it to the backers. And I'm one of those backers, so I put my money in, and I'm not going to get a Mycroft Mark II as a result of it. But then that money has funded the product, which can now be bought for full retail price, and the retail price, which is significantly more than the backer price. Oh, someone has just pulled up outside my door. I wonder who it is. We might be interrupted in a moment. Anyway, I won't go into it in too much more. People have strong thoughts about this. My own response to it, I suppose, is disappointment that I don't get to play with a Mycroft Mark II, because I can't afford $500 US plus, you know, shipping and whatever else conversion. By the time I got this in my hands, this would be a $750 device, and I can't justify a $750 voice assistant, in addition to having already paid for the Kickstarter support. But even though there is so much bad feeling at the moment among Kickstarter backers of Mycroft, I really hope that Mycroft survives and that they can stick to their pledge of being as open as possible and continue to release all of the source code and everything for their system. If they can keep doing that, one of the interesting things about it is that if they can keep releasing source code, it's possible to build your own Mycroft. And in fact, that's why I got a whole lot of this stuff here. What you can see right here is, so this is my Mycroft AI project box. I've got re-speaker devices. There's a 6 microphone array for a Raspberry Pi, which can do things like background noise suppression, so it's good as a microphone for your re-speaker USB mics. Here's a Raspberry Pi that I set up with Mycroft, which is which was like a Raspberry Pi release of the Mycroft code. And what is it? Oh yeah, that's one of the microphone arrays. So the idea is that because a Mycroft is a Raspberry Pi plus some peripherals in a funky looking enclosure, it should be possible to build your own Mycroft using their software on your own hardware. And yeah, I hope that they survive and in doing so maybe achieve break-even and profitability. And I really don't want to see them just totally fold after all of this, because there's so much work that has been put into creating this, and if the company folds and all of that just goes by the wayside, the repos could end up disappearing. I mean, you can fork them now, but there's a whole lot of stuff that hasn't been released yet. I want to see them continue so that the work, like the years and years of work that has gone into this so far, can benefit the community and people can take advantage of it. Yes. Anyway. Sion said they should allow backers to add the extra on top of their backing dollars to get it to retail value to get their units. That's, yes, that's right. Yeah, James. So, James, you obviously know a lot about this. I'm not sure if you're directly involved in the project or if you are an enthusiastic or if you're a very interested backer. So where was it? James had a comment. Original plan was an SoC but didn't work, so I reverted to an RPi 4 which killed the bomb. Yeah, Raspberry Pi 4s are like gold at the moment. Andrew said, I was a backer and didn't get one. I'm not angry at them. Crowdfunding isn't guaranteed. I am angry at the patent trolls though. Yes, that's pretty much my feeling on it. I'm not angry at Mycroft. I have a feeling that they were a little bit optimistic about their pricing, but you see this all the time with crowdfunding campaigns. People go into a crowdfunding campaign on the basis of, we're going to build this thing and our bill of materials is estimated to be $100, so let's put a price on it of $150, and then we've got like a safe margin and we'll make some profit. And no, hardware does not work that way. You cannot work on basic bill of materials cost plus a small percentage margin. You've got to amortize all sorts of things that just do not appear in the bill of materials. There's so much overhead and all of the engineering costs and everything that go into it. It's, yeah, you have to you don't just multiply your bill of materials cost by 1.5. You have to multiply it by a much, much bigger number than that just to break even. Yeah. Yes. Oh, James said just a customer and a contributor. Yep. All right. Graham, Kickstarter is just that funding platform. Yep. Yes. Oh, Dodgy said, so in essence, the product is finished, but they can't afford to provide them at the Kickstarter price. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. Thanks, Dodgy. That's a simple, elegant way of putting it. The cost blowouts and the unexpected overheads like the patent troll mean they just can't afford to produce them at the Kickstarter price. So, Oh, right. Austin said, it's why I've been hesitant at running a campaign, and I have most things in place already, and I've put in big margin to ensure covered unexpectancies. Yeah, so there are, I don't, I don't want to get too much down the general Kickstarter discussion sort of route. I have thoughts about that. I have lots of thoughts about crowdfunding campaigns, but yes, there are a few different approaches to it. One of the most successful approaches I've seen for crowdfunding campaigns is when companies use it as a marketing and pre-sale channel. So a company probably already has the design for the device, they've probably got prototypes, they may be in a state where they are ready to go into full production, they might already have a pipeline, they might have stock that they've built up. There are a number of times where I've seen Kickstarter campaigns that they've put something up on Kickstarter and it's been like a 2-month campaign or a 1 month, or say a 1 month campaign, and then shipping within weeks of the campaign ending. I've backed a couple of things like that, and it's really obvious that they were not using the funding from the campaign as a way of bootstrapping their engineering so that they can create the product to then move into manufacturing and then distribution, because that takes 6 to 12 months minimum for a reasonably simple product. And if you can ship your product within weeks of the campaign ending, that's a sign that you had the boxes sitting on a shelf ready to go, and you were simply using it as a way of bringing in a bunch of pre-orders, and you were already in good shape. But then for projects like Mycroft, it's a very different thing. That's going into it with the idea that you need the funds to do the engineering to bring the product to market, and the product then becomes the reward for your backers. So that is far, far more risky, and that's the situation that Mycroft was in. And the Mycroft project is a very complex project. The thing is that it's not just a hardware project. So hardware projects are hard, but it's far more than that. If you think about what's involved in a voice assistant, all of the components from a software side, it's a really, really hard thing to make. If you wanted to sit down and make your own voice assistant, it's a big project. It's actually a number of sub-projects all chained together. Each one of those sub-projects is a technical challenge in itself. So creating a complete voice assistant with all of those things brought together, and then manufacturing the hardware, doing all of the quality control, etc., shipping it out to people, that is a really hard thing to bite off. It's a big project. Yeah. Austin says, I've got 12 different items lined up and can give you a full setup and even know the cost to do rack cases as a stretch goal, built to a modular format at an affordable price. Cool. Yeah. Okay. This is kind of, DIY is here. Thanks for coming along, DIY in the ghetto. Now, I'm just going to shove this back out of my way because I need bench space to get to the thing that is the actual point of the day. The point of the day. The point of the day. Where are we? Okay, I'm going to get this back under here. Now, oh, that's interesting. Dodgy said, you seem to have most of the parts there already. Would you consider doing it as a live stream project? I would consider that. It's, what I would need to do before committing to that is review the current state of Mycroft and what they've released. I don't know whether what's currently released is enough to get you up and running. Maybe it is. I don't know. DIY says, hey John, how is everything? Spiffy. How are you, DIY? Austin says busy. You can't install anything in the US that is not UL approved if you are getting inspected. Okay, right. Now, the actual thing I wanted to do. I wonder if this is going to work. I should have checked this before the stream. Let's have a look at whether Droid Cam is going to do the thing. To do the things. Amanda, thanks for becoming a silver supporter. That is really cool. Oh, that's right. Justin C just signed up for ChatGPT Plus. I hope it's a good choice. Yes, early in the stream, someone talked about ChatGPT and my thoughts on ChatGPT. I don't know if I'm going to get to that today, but Justin, interesting that you signed up for ChatGPT Plus. My very brief summary of ChatGPT and Bard and associated technologies is that, how do I put this? This moment we are living through right now is an inflection point. It is one of those moments in history where there is the before and the after. And we are seeing it live happen right in front of us. It's like, yeah, it's right up there, like with the introduction of the personal computer and mobile phones and, you know, those sorts of things, but it's happening even faster. Now, that's right, I need to get this working as a camera because I'm going to take you out into the factory. We are going to turn on the reflow oven to get it up to temperature because I want to have it at a good stable temperature. Actually, I'm just wondering if I'm jumping the gun there. No, I don't think I am. I think I can be ready fairly quickly, maybe. How am I? I'm just thinking about how am I going to do this? Okay, I've got an extension cord. I might have to... no, my laptop... Sorry, I'm going through this mental process because what I want to do is I want to take this, which is a Reflow oven controller. This is an Arduino-based Reflow oven controller from Rocket Scream. It's the one that I used for years on my toaster oven, and this is a thermocouple. I want to pass this through the Reflow oven and profile it. So get a response out maybe at like 1 second intervals, get the temperature, and pass this on along the conveyor belt, and then we should be able to generate a plot. So it should be like, it should be heat, soak, spike, cool. So we should get the classic Reflow oven curve by measuring it with this. But the reason I'm hesitating is that my general plan, my ill-conceived plan, was to send this through and have the temperature values coming out of the USB port here, and then just log the values and then pull them into, I don't know, Google Sheets or something and generate a chart. Words are failing me today. But here is my conundrum. I'm going to need a computer out there next to it to plug this into so that I can then do the logging coming out of the serial port. And what do I have? I'm going to, maybe I can do this if I change to a different Arduino board, like to an 11. This is a very early 11. This is an antique. It should be in a museum somewhere. It's got a mini USB connector on it. Okay, here's my problem. The only laptop I have got that I can plug into this is the laptop that is currently running OBS and this live stream. So if I unplug it, I'm screwed. Now, if I can get... Yeah, I need to get another Arduino board with a micro USB connector on it, because I think then I can plug it into my other Mac laptop, and then I should be okay. Metal foil as a heat shield. Yes, that was one thing that I forgot to bring in today. I have some, so this cable here has this thermal sheath over it, and I have silicon wire as well. So my plan had been, because of course, if I send anything through a reflow oven, it's going to get hot enough to melt the solder. So I can't just, solder onto the wire to extend it or anything, because the solder is going to unsolder itself. So what I was thinking of doing was getting some silicon wire, which I have, like silicon sheathed wire, and then using ferrules or something and crimping them on to give me the cable length that I need to send through it. And that way the cable and the connection should be able to withstand the heat of being inside the reflow oven. That is my my vague, poorly conceived plan. And where am I? My other laptop is in the car. So let's see, does this, maybe I'll take you on a little walk. Will I? Why not? Where are my car keys? Let's see if I get video. I'm just wondering what you're going to see if I open the boot of my car and I have the camera with me. I'm just going to turn this around and go to poker phone. Is it going to work? Do I have... Oh. Okay, well this is a... Oh no, it is working. Hang on, why? Oh, okay, now we've got to go to camera 8 on here, and now we have a portable camera. Okay. This could be really embarrassing. All right, I am going to take you on a seasickness enduring... Yeah, all the bodies. You'll see the body... Hang on. I'm going to try to walk smoothly, but just be warned that you may get seasick while doing this, and also my audio may cut out because I'm going onto the far side of a brick wall. Yeah, messy driveway. Much embarrassing. And back inside. Yeah, because the thing is, I think that I have cables that are USB-C. Now, my new Mac laptop is... Oh, there's a reflection of me. My new Mac laptop only has USB-C cables. So... Now I'm going to put this down and switch back to here. Yeah, so I am somewhat limited connecting to old devices. Yes, USB-C, USB-C, no other. Somewhere there should be an adapter. That would actually solve this whole problem. This is such an ill-conceived plan. Yes. Need some kind of a shock on that door. Yep. You need... Sion said, you'll end up with wrong measurements. You need to cut another thermocouple cable and join them with a proper thermocouple adapter. Yes. Okay, well, another way I could do this is pass it along the side of the oven, and that I actually had in mind possibly doing that because the I'll show you why. There is a heat shield down the side of the oven, and because the frame is slightly twisted, there is a little gap along it, and I think I can do it without... Read back, please. Yeah, are you talking about the You explain why. Okay, you'll end up with wrong measurements. I'm going to scroll back. You're mixing metals, that breaks the thermocouple. A K-type TC is 2 metals welded at the tip. Yep, okay, cool. So, in that case, I will definitely just pass it along with the cable going along the side. I'm pretty sure I can do that. And that way I don't need to make any changes to the cable. So, what am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, step one is I'm going to check whether this cable works, because I have come to hate USB-C. I love the idea. It just sucks as an implementation, because it's like you're playing Russian roulette every time you try to plug something in. Are you going to get power? Are you going to get data? Is anything going to work? Who knows? You just don't know. Now, I need myself an Arduino board. And from whence shall I fetch one? You'd think that this would be an easy problem to solve. There should be many very close by. Okay, I'm not going to bother with... how about I change to this? I'll just leave this on the screen while I go for a little walk. I won't take the seasickness camera with me this time. I'm going to go for a little walk out, because I should have a whole box of Arduino boards out here. Let's see what I can find. Somewhere. Okay, I might just have to do the needful. Pull one out of a box. Here we go. Back with a brand new Freetronics one. What have I got? Let's see if... this is so unnecessarily complicated. Why is this so much harder than it should be? Alright, so brand new Freetronics 11, and I'm going to plug this in on my desktop, because I have some code there that should do this. Should make the things be the things. Now I need a USB, I'll just use this one. A handy USB cable right there. And Michael says it's boring if it's not difficult. Read the instructions, says Dodgy. The instructions that I wrote, these ones. Now, I'm going to go back to here, and what I have is this. Now this is, let's see if we can make this bigger, come on. You can do it, computer. You can open the menu. I clicked file. There we go. Arduino preferences. Let's edit a font size. Let's make it 18 point blank. Maybe it's readable. Maybe it's not. Okay, so this is the example sketch for the Adafruit library for the Max 31855K, which is the thermocouple interface that is on this particular shield. And what I did just before the live stream was I edited these defines, because they use A1, A2 and A3 pins for the connection to the thermocouple. I've changed the baud rate to 115,000, and now if we compile this and upload it, which means I've got to plug it in. Where? Okay, I've got to plug this in, and step one is I'm just going to upload it. I've already selected Arduino Uno as the board type. It is uploading, it is done uploading, but I don't have the shield on it yet, so let's fix that little problem first. Over here, you can't see what I'm doing, but what I've just done is pulled the Rocket Scream Reflow controller shield off the antique Arduino, and I'm going to stick it onto the not antique Arduino. Well, I've got so lazy with that in recent years. I just call it an Arduino when I really should be saying Arduino compatible, because it's not an official Arduino board. Alright, let's open the serial console and see if we get anything. Oh, we do! Look at this! We are getting values coming back. So internal temp, that is the temperature, I think, coming off the AVR, because the ATmega 328 has its own internal temperature thing. And this is the value coming from the thermocouple. So if I stick my fingers on that, you can see that that's changing. 25. That seems quite warm for being in this room, but it is quite plausible. I am feeling quite warm now. 25 is probably a couple of degrees more than my optimal room temperature. So, Henrik asked for €2. Thank you, Henrik. What do you think about the Arduino IDE 2.0? Don't really like it. These days I'm using VS Code a lot more, and it's kind of, well, Arduino IDE 2 I think is based on VS Code, maybe, I'm not sure, but I just find it kind of frustrating. It's yeah, so I either use the 1 series Arduino IDE or VS Code. I seem to have kind of bypassed IDE version 2. Now, what are we doing? Alright, let's start doing let's make some changes to make this a bit more suitable for our purposes. Let's just get rid of a whole bunch of stuff here. Wait for the max chip we'll just get rid of these. No, we don't need to do that. We'll leave them in. Could be useful for debugging purposes. Then internal temp. I don't want to display the internal temp. Thermocouple.read internal. What is going on with that? Maybe I am misunderstanding. Yeah, Stephen said VS Code with Platform IO. Yes, that's right. That is correct. I'm using VS Code with Platform IO. Now, so yeah, I'm kind of in I have some projects I do in Arduino IDE, some in VS Code with Platform IO. I'm talking about Arduino related projects here. So we've got errors there. What are we saying? Yeah, so what is this thermocouple.read internal? Why read into? Oh, maybe that's the internal temperature of the thermocouple chip. Maybe the MAX 31855 has an internal temperature sensor. That would make sense. Let's just get rid of that for now, though. We don't want to. No, not that. Yeah, so we got rid of the internal temperature response because I just want the regular temperature response. I don't care about Fahrenheit. I just want it in Celsius, and I don't want that. Let's do this. Let's go serial.print millis, and then we're going to print a comma and then the temperature in Celsius. Michael says best way to remove any error conditions is to not report them. That's right. It's the old stick your head in the sand approach. If I can't see the error, it's not real. Okay, so now we've got, what are we doing? All right, I'm uploading it now. We've still got a 1 second delay. I think that's about right. So what we will get now is values which are the number of millis. So this is milliseconds that the board has been up. and the temperature, it's kind of suspicious that it's 25.00. I hope that this thermocouple is working properly. I've just put my finger on it there to see. And it goes up when I put my finger on it, and it comes back down, and it comes down to a plausible number. So, I don't know. This is all just a bit of fun. Oh, 24.75, it's come down a little bit below it. That's kind of reassuring, because it was showing just 25.00. That, it seemed like a fake number to me. So, appears to have increments of 0.25 only. Yeah, that's fine. Need a calibrating ice water glass. Yeah. I'm not going to be that scientific now. What's the time? It's 11 o'clock. I've talked so much already that need a second thermocouple to monitor the first. Yeah, the old 2 watches so you don't know what time is real approach. Put a glass of water on it. Yeah, so 78, yeah, 79 seconds. That's all making sense. So what we're getting here is values. Now, one thing I do not want is for my phone to go flat while I'm doing this, because I need to use it as a portable camera. I'm just thinking about so many things buzzing through my head that I am not articulating. Okay, back to the thermocouple. All right, so the next thing I need to do is see whether this is also going to work on my new Mac laptop. When I say new, it's like a year old or whatever it is, year and a half old. But, and purchased thanks to supporters of the channel. So many people contributed to that. That was a mind-blowing sort of thing. So it still kind of baffles me that that happened. Austin reminded me of that question earlier of, did you get an email back? Plug the phone into a charger, says Stephen. Yes, but I need a portable charger. Too many things going on. Okay, I need to refocus. One thing at a time. The thing I'm going to do is check if this is working on my new laptop, and then I'm going to get to the other things. So please be ready to remind me of those other questions, because I'll have forgotten them by the time I get this tested. So now what I want to do is I am unplugging. You'll see the serial thing stop because I have just unplugged it from my desktop, the Mac Mini that is currently being screen captured for doing that. And I'm going to open my laptop. Better get Arduino IDE open, or I could just use CoolTerm or something. Doesn't really matter. I just want a serial console is the important thing. Now, got to make sure that there's nothing on here that you should not be seeing. Nope. There could have been client projects and all sorts of things there. Okay. I don't know if I can actually show you this unless I just grab the phone and point it at the screen of my laptop again, which I will probably do in just a moment. All right. Allow accessory to connect. Yes, allow. Oh, that's an interesting new security thing in macOS. Tools, port, USB modem, open, serial monitor, and yes, it's working. Okay, this is a good sign. Hang on, I'm going to grab this camera. I'm going to switch to input 8. And so just backing up a little bit, what you can see here is I've got the, I have the the Arduino on the bottom, so it's the Freetronics 11. I've got the Rocket Scream Shield on top, which has got the Mac's thermocouple interface. Then I've got the thermocouple just here with its heat sheath and everything. And then that is connected to my Mac, and here we've got the serial console, and you can see that it is reading values coming out of here. So that means that we can then capture those values and plot them. So that is a good sign. Now, where to next? All right, next thing is I'm going to go and turn on the oven. I'm going to, because I want to get it up to speed, up to temperature. All right, are you ready? Prepare to be seasick. Hang on, I'm going to back up here and input 8. Okay, backing away from my computer. Oh, someone just drove past. There's the CCTV backing away from my computer. Oh, you can see the laptop, etc. Let's just go, and there's Steve sitting there by my desk making sure everything is under control. Let's go and turn on this reflow oven. Just grabbing my trusty stand. Come back over here. Ah yes, we've got 3-phase is on. And hold on to your horses because I'm going to clip this in. I actually can't see what the phone is saying. Oh, there we go. I've just woken up the... Where's a reasonable angle? About there. Okay. Ye oldie 33-ish year old reflow oven. Fire extinguisher. Let's apply the joules. So power on. You can hear the fan spinning up. I'm going to set program 12 and go. The conveyor is starting to move. You might be able to just see that. It's got some slight damage to that conveyor. I've already done some twisting to fix it a bit. Oh, you can see that it caught there. There's some damage on the conveyor in here, and I need to fix that. The 3 heating zones are coming up to temperature. The cooling zone is doing its thing. I'll move you over a little bit closer so you can see the controller, the cryptic controller. I mean, it's not cryptic when it's running, it makes sense. You can see here it's got 600 Fahrenheit as the target for the heating zone, and you can see it's flashing on the bottom segment, which means that it is under temperature. It's still getting up to temperature. The soak zone is set to 660 Fahrenheit, also under temperature. The spike zone which is the reflow zone, is set to 750 Fahrenheit, also under temperature. It is set to 0.4 feet per minute as the speed on the conveyor. That is a lie. It's actually running a lot faster than that. It's more like 1 foot per minute. A couple of days ago, Lachlan and I put a mark on it and actually put a PCB on the conveyor, timed how long it took to go through, and that number is very, very wrong. But it doesn't matter. It's not the number on the display that matters, it's what is reality that matters. And do we have any zones up to temperature yet? Not yet. But this is why I was starting it, because I wanted to get it all up to temperature and stabilized before we start messing around and trying to measure anything. Oops, I just backed into my laser cutter, which is, and then I backed into the the fire extinguisher. Okay, now, you may not be able to see this all that well. So this lid is really heavy. I haven't measured it, but I think it might be in the order of like 50 kilos or so. But if I lift it, there is a glass screen that runs along the inside there, and it's meant to seal along the bottom, and it acts as a heat barrier. But this whole thing is slightly twisted. It's had some damage at some point in the past. And this back hinge, so over the back here, there are 3 hinges for the top, and the hinge on this end is broken. So yeah, when I lift it, the whole thing sort of twists slightly. Anyway, the point of that, the important point, and this comes back to what Sion was saying, is I think I can put the thermocouple on a PCB, sit it on the conveyor, run it underneath, and have the cable pass out here on the side. So if I have the laptop here somewhere, I should be able to run the thermocouple through and just have the Arduino hanging out the side here somewhere. That should work okay. So what do I need? I need a blank PCB, capped on tape, and I'm just getting down to see where this thing is. The heat shield is sitting on the bottom at that end. What I'm going to do is prop this just slightly open and have the cable go through so that it can pass from one end to the other unobstructed. So, oh, we're up to temperature on all 3 zones according to this now. So that's yeah, that's what nearly 8 kilowatts will get you. Oh, which reminds me, I was talking to Andy a few days ago and saying, this thing needs so much power, it pulls 7,800 watts. And he was telling me a story. I don't know if I'm even allowed to tell this story. Hopefully I can. He was telling, because he used to work at Cray Research, you know, on Cray supercomputers. And he said that it was serial number 2, I think, one of the early Cray supercomputers, which pulled, I may be misremembering the number, but it was something like 120 kilowatts, which is a crazy amount of power. So 120 kilowatts in a small area, and it was all, you know, liquid cooled, etc. And there was a cooling failure over a weekend, and the machine got so hot that it desoldered itself, and it had stalactites of solder inside the computer, all just, you know, falling down on all the boards. Anyway, maybe I'll get him to tell that story properly sometime. Now, I need to bring out, I'm just going to leave that camera there pointing at it. I need to bring out my laptop and the Rocket Scream thermocouple thingamajigamy. What have I been missing in the chat? What is going on? Did you get an email back? Oh, that's right. Austin said, yes, I did get an email back eventually. So it is a post-1989 machine. It's 1990 machine, I believe. And the company was formed in 1989. This is a, yeah, there's actually a date on the controller. When I opened it up, the controller had a sticker on it with a handwritten date in 1990. So this is possibly one of the first reflow ovens that this company ever made. Yeah, so Novastar is now a, like, it's a really successful company. They make all sorts of things. They started off making reflow ovens and then expanded into making other things. They make pick and place machines and all sorts of stuff now. What I'm looking for is a PCB, preferably a fairly large one, and I need some kept on tape. Maybe I'll grab, what should I grab? I can grab a panel. That might be a good thing to use. What have I got? Panels, panels, panels. Yeah, this one, it's probably as good as any. Oh, the rain has started. Don't know if you can hear that, but there is rain pouring on the factory roof. Now I need kept on tape. Kept on. Kept on. Come on, where are you? Ah, there it is. Kept on tape, scissors. Where are the scissors gone? Oh, my son was using them a day or two ago. Here they are. Because he's been respraying parts of his car. And he was masking up. So, let's see. Now you're not going to really get much of a close-up view here. I've got that, those. I'm going to unplug this because I want to prepare this. So my plan is to send this through the oven and then just have this on the outside with my laptop. So I'm going to just attach it to a panel, because that'll it'll kind of simulate the real environment. I mean, if I was going to do this properly, what I would do is have multiple thermocouples and measure on both the top and the bottom of the board and different positions on the width of the conveyor. But hey, I am half-arsing it today. This is just like a first pass. I want to get some concept of what this oven is doing, because I really don't know. It's a 32 or 33-year-old controller, and possibly 32 or 33-year-old heating elements and things. I don't know how accurate their thermocouples are going to be. Okay. Now, next I need something to prop this just slightly open, which of course is going to screw up the results as well. This is not at all scientific, but oh, which way? That way. That way. And also there's meant to be an exhaust cover that goes on here. There's this thing which screws down on there, covers these, and then that goes up to an exhaust duct which pulls fumes and things away. So right now I've got no fume extraction on it, but that's all right. We're not really actually even soldering anything. We're just measuring temperatures. Next step is something to hold this just slightly open. What can I use? What do I need? Not a whole lot. I can do it with, it only needs to be raised a few millimeters. But I just want it open enough that it's not going to snag the wire. So, what should I use? How about a little stack of PCBs? That should do the job, and it seems appropriate. I've got some tiny little PCBs here, which are from an RTC module. They're not panelized, they're just individual boards, so they're small. Now, can I lift this? I've got to do it, the handle is down this end. I've got to lift it, and it's bloody heavy, and put these in position. All right, I'm going to move these out of the way. Put that where the foot goes. Okay. So now there is a nice little gap, maybe about 7 or 8 millimeters below the heat shield, so I can pass the board through underneath. Okay, the cunning plan is coming together. Wake up, little laptop. Clear that. And all right. So what I need to do is plug this in here and reopen the serial console, because I think I did it on the other side of the computer. Oh no, it's still there. Serial console. And are we getting values? Yes. So we're getting values coming back. So what I need to do now is, this is all kind of awkward. I need to pass this through there to get it past the spot where I've propped it up. There we go. And I'll just sit that on there. Now what should happen is the board should pass through, and in fact what I'm going to do is clear the output at that point. So what we'll have in the output is only from when the board is at this exposed part of the conveyor belt. And now this cable should just pass along underneath the lid here, just clearing the gap in the heat shield until it comes out the other end, and we'll be able to plot all of the values. So I can see that it's in the low 30 degrees. It's about 33 degrees sitting out here, and it's now going up. It's now just hit 40 degrees because it's starting to come into the influence of the, oh, I think it was catching on something then. I've got to be careful to keep this unobstructed because it's now passing into the area of the warming part. So it's now at 75 degrees and going up. And this could be a not very exciting part of the whole thing. 90 degrees. Oh yeah, I can, oh, the conveyor is really catching on that point. In fact, I think I'm gonna have to stop this. That is bad. No, it freed itself. Now that is totally unacceptable, obviously, in production because it would have shaken all the parts off the board. But that's one of the things I still have to fix. All right, so it's at 120 degrees and it is now, I'm trying to see where it is in the process. I can't really see very much in there. All right, so it's definitely well into the warm-up part of the oven now. It's at 130 degrees. I need a tissue. That was a random observation. Not what you were expecting me to say. 145 degrees. I would have thought it would go up a little bit more than that, but I suppose it's still only in the soak part. Yeah, it's in the soak part of the cycle now. I'm going to get the camera and bring it in, see if we can see a little bit more. I'll bring the camera down this way. Oops. I just kicked the tripod while I was trying to carry it. So if we look through there, you can see the panel with the thermocouple attached to it, and you can see the gap under the heat shield where the cable is going through because I've got the lid propped up, and we're at 177, 178 degrees. That's lower than I was expecting. Although it is quite possible that this thermocouple is not giving me real values. That should now well be into the reflow part of the cycle, and the values that we're getting out are heading toward 200 degrees. Definitely not as high as it should be, but that's all part of the process here. We're trying to figure out what's going on with this oven. There's the view through the oven from the outlet side. Panel is slowly coming towards us, and it'll be soon coming into the influence of the cool down part. Oh, it already is. You can see that the temperature is down to 170 and falling, in the high 160s, 163, 62. So temperature is coming down. I have a feeling that I'm going to have to do some playing around with the profile to get this to do anything useful. Now this particular panel had dry solder paste on it because this one that I grabbed was from a failed run a little while ago. It was from a failed test of the KO pick and place machine. It had solder paste on it, it had some parts on it, but then it's been sitting there for who knows how long, maybe a month or two. So all totally dried out, crusty, hard solder paste. Hang on, I'm going to put the camera back in the tripod before that panel falls off the end of the conveyor. And I'm going to, yes, we've got to stop this. So I'm going to pull the plug on that. So that's down to 100 degrees. This is now coming off the end. I'm going to, yeah, it's not too hot to pick up. That's okay. Put that on there, stop the oven, and we're kind of done for that part. All right. So I'm going to leave the oven there just running its fans so that it can cool down. I pressed the stop button on the oven, so that's why it's no longer showing temperatures on here. It's just showing the program that we've got selected and some other cryptic things, don't know. But now we have data. So let's see if we can do anything useful with that data. Let's go for a little walk. Back, back, back. Put my tape string and excess heat shrink box away. That can go back up there and back to non-shaky cam. Hooray! All right. That's right, I said before I needed a tissue. And in here, I have the luxury of tissues. So, next thing is, I need to get this data onto my other computer so that you can see when I'm messing around with it. Now, what you can see here is the Arduino IDE with the test values that we were getting out earlier when I had plugged into this computer, but it was not plugged into this computer. So what you're not going to be able to see is I am going to copy and paste everything that was in this serial console into a text file. Or maybe I could do it. Yeah. Let's see. Text. What will I do it with? How about Sublime Text? I will get it onto my own, onto the iMac and then start manipulating it. I won't try to do anything with it on my laptop. So I'll call that. What do I call it? I will call it Novastar. Novastar Profile 1. And has that appeared on my desktop? Let's see. It should have synced onto the desktop automatically. Novastar. No, it hasn't yet, even though my desktop should be synced through iCloud. Come on. Syncity sync. Maybe I should save it into Dropbox instead. That might sync more quickly. Austin said, how long is the blue oven section from end to end? That's a good question. Let's find out. While I'm waiting for iCloud to sync. Got the tape measure. So the blue covered section, which is a heated section, is 1070 millimeters. Sorry for people who use freedom units. I don't know what that accounts to, and my tape measure doesn't have freedom units on it. It only has metric. And the total length of the oven, so the total length of the oven is 1.7 meters, including the conveyor that sticks out both ends, and the blue part is just under 1.1 meters. Has it synced yet? If it hasn't, I am just going to say screw you iCloud, and I'm going to go to Dropbox instead and save this. Now, where's desktop? Where's desktop? Nova. Okay. Copy that. Go to Dropbox. Riveting stuff, isn't it? So much fun watching these live streams. Where should I put it? Got to find somewhere useful. I'll just put it in the Superhouse directory. That'll do. It'll sync up. I'm not going to be keeping this anyway. All I'm going to do is be importing it. Okay. Dropbox. I'm back to here now. So Dropbox. Superhouse Novastar Profile 1. There it is. Okay. Now, open with text edit. So this is just to show you that I now have the text file, which is a series of timestamps in milliseconds, and the temperature. So if we pull these into something like Google Sheets, we should now be able to generate some kind of a curve of what's happening in the oven. Now, I'm going to pull this out of your field of view, and because I've got to open my Google Drive, and this way you don't get to see all the things that are in my Google Drive. Sheets, yes. I'm going to make a new spreadsheet and bring it back up here. Now, how am I going to do this? Insert. Can I format, data, import, file, where is it? File, import. No, not my drive. Upload, browse. And yeah, this is probably going to disclose a whole lot of things. Dropbox, Superhouse, Novastar Profile 1. Oh, I've got to name it something more useful, like Novastar Profile 1. I'm going to add a .csv on the end. Now, can we see it? Nope. Why can't we import a .csv file? That's annoying. Okay, hang on. I'm going to drag this down out of view and find it. I'm just going to see if I can drag it on directly. Dropbox, Superhouse. What happens if I drag it straight on there? Is it going to accept it? Yes. So why couldn't it select it in the file selector? Separator type, detect automatically, replace spreadsheet. Yeah. Whatever. Let's just leave it all default and see if it screws it up. Hopefully it'll do something sensible and give us 2 columns, which it has. Very nice. Okay, so we've got 2 columns. And next step is let's insert a chart. So we'll stick it in about here. Where do I do this? Data, insert, or is it insert chart? All right. And column chart, let's do a line chart. Data range, let's go, I'm not that familiar with this. I'm going to just drag across here and see what happens. All right, I've selected that range. Nope, okay. Oh, maybe I've got to do it here. Select a date range. Oh, data range. Okay, so I'm going to go from oh, come on. Helps if I have my hand on the keyboard properly. A1 to B, how many do we have? What row is the end? It is 276. B 276. And everybody that knows how to use Google Sheets is saying you are being ridiculous. Because I'm obviously screwing this up. Setup. So data range, add x-axis, a series, all right, let's change this to a, blah, see what happens, and then series is, what I want is the x-axis to be the first column, and the y-axis to be the second column. Why is that so hard? Use column A as labels? No. What? Okay, am I being stupid? Yes, I know is the generic answer. Data is in B column. Okay, data range is in B column. So, but I want the A column as well. Let's see what it does if I do that. Oh, okay. So well, right. It actually kind of looks like a curve. It's a really, really rough one, but it kind of looks like a curve. So let's bring this up and have a better look-see at what we've got. Now, just to remind everybody what it should be looking like, Reflow, SMT Reflow curve, profile. Images. What I'm looking for is something like this, where it goes up and then it kind of stabilizes and rises slowly, and then it goes up rapidly and then it cools down again. And you can see lots and lots of examples here that are essentially the same sort of concept. It is heat, soak, spike, cool. So it's preheating, reflow, etc. Any of these, if I click through them, they're the same basic idea. That's what we want to be seeing, something like this. And what we are seeing is that, which is not horrible, I suppose. There's not really very much of a soak stage because it is struggling to get it up to temperature here. And yeah, there's not much elongation there. So we get the heating part coming through here, and then it should sort of angle off a bit and have a longer period of time to soak and then come back up. Now, there are a couple of factors here. One is I think that the conveyor belt may be running just a little bit too fast because the period that it is in the oven is not long enough. And I don't think that it's having time to get really up to temperature before it's moving on to the next zone. So we've got the heating zone here. It's still like trying to get up to temperature by the time it gets into the soak stage, and the temperature is still going up. You can see that, and it's not even hitting 200 degrees. Yeah. Sion says, not horrible, ship it. Yeah. Yeah, and James says, well, it certainly thinks it's running slowly. Peter just said 21 minutes, and for a moment I thought, no, it didn't take 21 minutes to run through the cycle, but then no, I realized. That is Peter's 21 minutes warning to lunch. Okay. So, yes, when on that PWM, like on that controller that they've got plugged in, it's, my words are failing me again. The Reflow oven controller that they have used shows the 3 zones, plus it shows the speed of the conveyor. And the speed of the conveyor is set to 0.4 feet per minute. However, it is actually running at more like 1 foot per minute. And so what I need to do is play around with that controller a little bit and learn how the settings work, because I actually haven't changed any settings on it. All I've done is turned it on and run it. It had profile 12 selected. When I first started it up, that was the profile that came up on the display. I haven't even looked at any of the other profiles. Who knows what it is. So the adventure so far has just been trying to make the thing work at all. And now that it is running properly on 3-phase power, it's a matter of trying to figure out what it is doing and how to change what it's doing. So let's look at the period. Now you can see here it started, the data started here when it was sitting out on the conveyor belt before it started going into the oven, and then it very slowly started rising just as it was getting the influence of the warm air coming out of the end of the oven onto the conveyor belt. And then once it got into the actual heating zone, you can see that the temperature started to go up much more rapidly. And so the interesting thing is looking at it from about here to here. This is the point where I stopped logging because it was out of the cooling zone at that point. It was just on the conveyor and cooling by itself. So how long is that interval? Now, if we scroll back in our data, you can see that it was 33, 33, 33, and some like 33 and change, 34, 35. the point where it started going up is somewhere around here. It went from 33 to 40, and then after 40 degrees it's going up by like 2 degrees per second. So that's the other interesting metric here, is how steep is that curve? How many degrees per second are we getting on that rise? And because I'm sampling here in approximately 1 second increments, what we are seeing is the numbers go 40.75, 42.5, 44, 46, 48, 50.25, 52.5, 54.5, 56.25. It is almost perfectly, at that part of the curve, it is almost perfectly 2 degrees per second is the temperature rise. So the point where I want to start looking at it, it is at, let's say around here, so around 63 seconds, and we go down, 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 down. Where is the point where it starts coming out? It was probably out of the oven somewhere, yeah, you can see it's at 100 degrees there, kind of stable at 100 for a while. That's once it was out of the influence of the cooling zone. So probably at around 300 seconds. So we've got around 240 seconds, which means it's only in the reflow oven, like in that blue part of the oven, for about 4 minutes. And that's not really long enough. So, yes, 4 minutes is not enough. Interesting question for Sion is, how long is the cycle time on your oven? I need to look up what this really should be. And of course what I should do is look at the data sheets for the solder that I'll want to run through it. But just based on the cycles that I've done through my my drawer reflow oven, and through things like the toaster oven that I used before that, yeah, Sion says you want about 530. Exactly. So, yeah, where my sentence was going, my never-ending sentence was going, is that 4 minutes is not enough. It needs to be a bit longer than that. And I think that if I slow that conveyor down, I will end up probably with a better soak part of the profile here, because it will have more time to get up to temperature and stabilize a little bit through the soak phase, and then it'll have a little bit more time going through the spike phase. So, and then of course more time in cool down as well. It's just the whole thing would be stretched out, but it's not just stretched out, because by having more time in each of those zones, it gives it a better opportunity to reach the target temperature that the zone is trying to apply to it. Yes. Sion says the cycle on these ovens have that lead-in time and cooling time, so slow the conveyor to about 7 minutes from edge to edge. Cool. Thanks for the tip, Sion. So it's 7 minutes from edge to edge. It's currently 4 minutes, not edge to edge. It was less than that, because I was cutting off in my little calculation thing there. I was cutting off the ends of the data where it was sitting on the conveyor at the entrance, and then where it was sitting on the conveyor at the exit. So 4 minutes from there, I probably need to, according to what's on the controller, I probably need to, oh yeah, Stephen says set it to 0.3 and go again. Yeah, that is about what I think it needs to be. So that would take, it's essentially adding 25% to the period. So the period inside the oven would go from 4 minutes to about 5 minutes, and then there is the period on the conveyor at each end, so it would be pushing out close to the 7 minutes. Now, yeah, oh, and Dodgy says, yeah, but 5.5 minutes with a max temp of 300C is going to give a different result to 5.5 at 200C. Yes, that's right. But hang on, what is, how do you do the calculation. Andy was doing, when I was talking to Andy about this last night, he was doing this calculation in his head. So what is 750 F in Celsius? Was it 750? I can't remember. 398, 400 degrees Celsius. I can't, all right, I'm going to leave you here looking at this for a minute. I'm not going to take shaky cam out with me. I can't remember if that spike zone was set to 700 or 750 Fahrenheit. I'm going to go out and look at the controller. And it is 750. All right. So according to the settings, all right, there are all sorts of factors coming into this. One is that the thermocouple that I just used might well be extremely dodgy. So, no calibration. It was a random thermocouple stuck into that Rocket Scream shield. But so 750 Fahrenheit, which is the target temperature of the oven, is about 400 degrees Celsius, and we were seeing a little bit shy of 200 Celsius. So, okay, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the panel that went through, because I want to see what happened to the solder that was on it. Even though that solder was dry and like a month old, could have been a couple of months old, I don't know. Let's chuck it under the microscope and have a look. It's well, it's reflowed. That's yeah, there are so many sources of error in this. Right, gotta start up the ye olde microscope and switch to that. All right, what have we got? Where's a part? Some of these have somewhere. Oh, here we go. There are some, and I've got to get this out of the way so I can get it under the microscope. So there are some parts that have been soldered down. And where else? Down here somewhere, there are some more parts. That looks like it hasn't reflowed those parts, but these ones up here have reflowed. Now, this is the dodgiest test ever. Hang on, I'm going to get that up there and then fix the focus. Get it zoomed in. All right. Now, keep in mind that this is solder paste. What you're seeing, where is it? What you're seeing there with that 472, so that little 4K7 resistor, that solder paste was put down probably a month or two ago, and then the resistor was placed in it because this was a board I was just using for testing the KO pick and place machine. And then I took the panel out and I just sat it on top of the machine, and it has been sitting there until I just grabbed it now and ran it through the reflow oven. So this is like an absolute worst case scenario of this panel is a horrible example. It could not be any more old and dried out. And yeah, so what this is showing is that the parts that were on this edge of the board, which way around was it? Yeah, this edge of the board are not reflowed. This was the front. So the way this came through, this was the front edge of the reflow oven. That's the back edge of the reflow oven. It traveled in that direction, so it passed through that way along the reflow oven. And the parts all through this part of the board, the solder has all reflowed, and including right up to the back. It's a couple of joints along the front here, the solder paste has not reflowed. Now maybe it would have if it had actually had its flux still intact, or yeah, so many reasons this was not a good proper test. But it's a starting point. Now I've got some data, I've got some information to work from. And now what I can do is fiddle around with that controller. Okay, so this is getting back to Austin's question that he asked earlier, which was, did I get a reply from the company? And so what happened was, Novastar is an American company, and I emailed them with a bunch of photos of the oven and said essentially, hey, I've just acquired this very old oven. I wonder if you've got any information about it. It doesn't have a model number on it or anything else. It just has your name. And so I got a reply back a couple of days later. And in the reply, I could see that what had happened was that whoever received it forwarded it to someone else within the company. And their message was, hey, do you recognize this oven? And then it was that person that it was forwarded to who then replied to me. And their reply was, it was like one sentence, and it was, unfortunately, we cannot supply support on ovens that are more than 30 years old. And that was it. So I replied and said, I wasn't really expecting support. I was just wanting to know if you had any information about it, and I thought you might be curious to see an oven of this age being brought back into service, because I've just converted it back from single phase to 3-phase, and now I'm getting it working again. And I then got another reply, which was good, a little bit more positive this time, saying that they would try to find some information, or if they found anything in relation to this oven, they would let me know. But just based on someone, who was it earlier in the chat? I think it might have been Austin, who has been doing all of the research into Novastar and trying to find the information on the controller and that sort of thing, said that Novastar as a company started in 1989, and this oven has a label on the inside that says 1990. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is one of the first ovens they ever sold. And it's yeah, well, it's going to be, hopefully, if I can figure out this profile and get it all sorted, it's going to be going back into production and building circuit boards again 33-ish years after it was made, which is very cool. Right. Oh, Sion said, and the door being slightly open would let heat escape. Yes, that is absolutely right. And yeah, there are so many factors to why my temperature profiling might be off. I would like to get a thermocouple with a long lead on it so that I can send it through the oven from the end with the lead just coming in along the conveyor belt, and be able to have the lid sitting totally closed so it doesn't have that little gap along the heat shield at the front, which I created artificially by propping the lid a little bit open. So I need to do a few things. I need to figure out the controller, how to change the settings on it. I need to investigate the profiles that have been set on it. There might be other profiles that are more appropriate. I don't know. There might be one with a slower conveyor speed. I need to profile it more accurately. So check the thermocouple that I'm using, like calibrate it or something. Check it against another one so that I have some reassurance that the value that I'm reading is correct. It would also be interesting to put one on the top and the bottom of the board, and also to run it through at different positions. If I had, say, three, yeah, I think it would be interesting to have 3 thermocouples and run a panel like this, which is most of the width of the conveyor. It's not the entire width. It can do panels a bit bigger than this, but it's a fair bit of the width. If I put a thermocouple, one at the back edge, or one from your point of view, the front edge, the middle, and the back edge of the board, and then I could plot those 3 values and see how the position on the board makes the profile change as well. That would be useful to know. Will the hood vent That's another very good point. So Gerald just said, will the hood vent affect the profile? I think it will, yes. And that's going to be something that I'll have to experiment with and maybe tune a little bit. So once I put that exhaust hood back on over the those little vents that you can see sticking up out of the top of the oven, and then run an extraction fan, I'm going to have to run it at a very low speed, I think, because I just want air to be very gently brought in through the oven. I don't want to be pulling air through very quickly, which will then adversely affect the heating profile, because you'd be pulling air from the room into the oven through the ends of the conveyor, and that will affect the temperature very significantly, I would expect. Cable tie, hey, you made it. Oh, Amanda says 5 minutes to lunch. 3 minutes to lunch now. Yes, it is almost lunchtime. So the extraction of the air from that fume cover is going to decrease the temperature in the oven. So that is another thing as well. I'm going to have to profile it with the extraction running, the fume extraction, and see what happens. But this is all an iterative process. I'm really chuffed. Oh, there's a magpie walking around outside my front door. Shiny thing. Yes, chasing squirrels again. My brain is in that mode. Okay, you're right, Michael. We started at 10:02, so it is 5 minutes. This is an iterative process. Until, before this live stream, I had zero data on what this oven was doing. It may not be perfect, but at least we now have a chart. We've got some concept of the fact that yes, it really is doing something that looks vaguely, approximately like a reflow curve. It's got the heat cycle. The soak is a little bit more vertical than it should be. It should be more elongated, but hey, that's the way it is. The spike isn't getting up as high as it should be, but hey, that's the way it is. And then we've got a cool down. So, yeah, it's only going to get better from here. Jack's Tech said magpie is the Aussies' equivalent of squirrels. Yes, and they like shiny things, so it's very appropriate. Okay, Gerald said baby steps is still progress. It is. Just got to keep moving. Yes, what is the saying? The first word. There is a very good quote from Henrik. Okay, I saw that. I'll get to that. There was a quote in the Last of Us episode, a couple of episodes ago, where Ellie was talking to Joel about whether he was likely to find his brother if he goes searching for his brother. And she said, what if he's not there? And Joel sort of looked at her and said, I am persistent. Like conveying that sense of he's just going to keep going. It doesn't matter what. So, and there was another thing that was something's greater than talent. I've gone blank on the first word. Anyway, what am I doing? My brain is all over the place again. Yes. Persistence. That's right. No, that's the one. Tenacity beats talent. Not always, but in general, tenacity beats talent. I do not claim talent, but when it comes to some things, I have tenacity. I will just keep going and going and going. And so what we are doing here is just working through the process. We've got a starting point. We've got an oven that runs. We now have proper three-phase power to it with an appropriately powered, like an appropriately scaled power circuit. We have our first ever profile. We can make this work. Peter says, food, you are getting fungry. Yeah. All right, so Henrik said, can you check into Discord? I sent an interesting link. All right, I have Discord open, and where is this chat? Where is the link? Ah, okay. So I'm just going to open this, yep. This is the link. It is low voltage heating wire, electric heating cable for blanket car heating seat. Okay, so it's resistance wire. Yep. It is, yeah, okay, so you put this wire into something, you run power through it, and the wire gets hot. Yep. I don't know what that was in relation to, Henrik, but maybe it was in relation to something in the chat. And, yeah. Run away, says Peter. Okay, not just yet. I am going to show you a couple of things. One little thing. Yes, Peter. I am hungry. I'm going to... oh, interesting. So Austin says, Steve was from Amazon, Canada. Yeah. The origin story of Steve. Oops. Steve started in an Amazon warehouse somewhere. Now I'm going to go to this view, no, that view temporarily, and because I wanted to show you one little thing. This is something that I started doing a while ago. No, not that one. That one. Okay. Desktop reflow oven. Cha-ching! This is... I didn't get as far as adding a controller to it. This is the sort of thing that a Reflow Master Pro would do. And it's tiny. So what you can see here is a conceptual start of a thing for reflowing boards on a desktop, and it's tiny. It's a couple of mains powered heating elements, so 300 watts each. This has 600 watts of heating power in this tiny area, and you can see that I just used Kapton tape to put a little barrier around it. The general idea where I was going with this was I wanted to build a tiny, tiny little reflow oven that's somewhere between a hot plate and an oven that is small enough that I could have it on my workbench, put an enclosure around it, put a little controller on it. It'd probably need a fan or something as well so that it can do its cool down. And I wanted this to be small enough that it could sit on my workbench, and if I'm working on a board, I could populate it, shove it in here, press go, and have it reflowed, and not have to, because often when you're working on prototypes you have a little PCB and you just want to populate one and reflow it to do testing or whatever it is you're doing, and I didn't want to be running my 3.5 kilowatt drawer reflow oven for that, and now the nearly 8 kilowatt conveyor oven. So the idea of having a baby reflow thing sitting on my desk was kind of appealing. And I did this, I don't know, 2 years ago, and it's still sitting there in its desktop reflow oven box. So, unfulfilled projects, so many unfulfilled projects. Right. Yeah, Peter said, I watched a YouTube video of a guy who used the actual circuit board to reflow itself. He used one of the layers as a heater and it worked great. Yeah, there are some people at Melbourne Hackerspace who have been doing that over the last few years. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Lachlan designed, I think he did it with a 6-layer board. So what he was doing was using a couple of the layers as heating elements. And yeah, there are some interesting gotchas to it. Like, you need to run a constant current power supply, I think, into it, and because what happens is that as the temperature goes up, the resistance of the heating coil that you've made on your inner PCB layer goes up as well, and then the current through it drops. Anyway, it's yeah, it's an interesting idea. Self-soldering PCBs. That there are, Lachlan has some in, there are some self-soldering PCBs like just through the wall behind me over in his office. He's got some that he did a couple of years ago. Yeah. Cable Tie says, constant current PSU on a nearby fire extinguisher. Yep. Yeah. Seeing this sort of thing is interesting. It's, I was about to start talking about something new. I really should eat food. Yeah, Dodgy says more show and tell. Yeah, so what I was going to... Okay, I will say it. It interests me because I see this sort of thing happen all the time. I'll see something like a video of someone building something go viral, and it's something that I've personally known someone who did that same thing like 3 years ago, it's just a matter of who does it and publicizes it or gets it into the right place at the right time or gets it onto Hackaday, and then all of a sudden it gets a high profile. What it makes me think about is that there are so many people who do these interesting things that I would never think of, that don't get the publicity. Peter just messaged me and said, stop it. I put my phone on silent earlier. I just saw the screen light up. Okay, Peter, I will stop it. Final thing. Austin said, I'll hopefully have a package on its way to you within the week. Just waiting PCBs. Thanks, Austin. I love getting packages from Austin. Just like the package that included Steve. So, all right. I am gonna go. Thank you for coming along to yet another episode of Random Thought Stuff with John. You never know where it's going to go. All right. Thank you very much. Seriously, thank you for coming along. It is cool on Sundays chatting to you all and doing these random things. Feels like a lot of pressure when I've got to try to make something happen live on stream, but it's usually interesting for me at least. So, I hope you have a fantastic week. If you haven't watched The Last of Us, I'm dying. Go and watch it. It's a good show. And I will talk to you all really, really soon. Go make something awesome. Bye.